Hey there. If you have applied for a medical writing job before, this video is going to be for you. If you have applied for a health content writing job before, this video is going to be even more specifically for you. Today, we're going to be talking about your experience having applied for these types of jobs in the past and either not getting a call back or not getting an interview, or making it to a first interview but not going further in the process. Basically, the question of why you are not able to secure or lock down a medical writing, but specifically a health content writing role. And we have talked about this before a couple of months ago, but I want to kind of elaborate on what we discussed back then. So there's going to be a little information that you've heard before, but there's probably going to be some new information that you haven't heard before yet either. So hopefully all of this will be helpful in helping you reframe how you are thinking about approaching a pivot or an exploration of medical writing and specifically health content writing. So before we get too deep into it, if we haven't met yet, I'm Megan Freeland. I'm a public health pharmacist turned health content strategist. Excuse me, it's early here, and I run the Health Professionals to Health Writers program, which is an accelerator program that teaches US-based pharmacists and healthcare providers how to replace a portion of their primary income through freelance health content writing. So a lot of the information that I talk about here on LinkedIn, via YouTube, on Instagram at Meg PharmD Writes, is all about health content writing and why I believe that more health professionals should be health writers. So, one question that I want to ask you when we're thinking about having applied for these jobs and not making it all the way through or not getting the role, taking a few steps back to say, what do you think is the number one thing that hiring folks, hiring people in these positions want to see? When someone is hiring for a medical writer or health content writer, what is it that they want to see? And I should also take a moment to specify if you've been watching the series over the past couple of months, you know that one of the first things that you need to do if you are interested in pivoting into medical writing as a health professional is you need to figure out what type of health medical writing you want to pivot into, because there are several different types and they involve different skill sets and have different processes. So it's important for you to hone in on which specific type you're interested in. So for the purposes of this conversation, we're really going to be leaning into health content writing as that specific type. So creating health content that you would find online for the general public, articles, blog posts, etc. So, in that case, when someone is hiring for a health content writer, drop in the comments if you're watching live or on the replay. What is the number one thing that you think a hiring person is looking for in a health content writer? Now, spoiler alert, I actually did a panel with a couple of health content publishers from GoodRx a few months back during the Health Writing for Health Professionals one-on-one series. That video is still on my YouTube channel, and I think it's titled like How to Get Booked with Freelance Health Writing Gigs or something like that. If you search booked on the Health Writing for Health Professionals channel, you'll find that video. But they actually talked about the specific characteristics that they look for in a health content writer they're considering working with. A little preview of what they said. One of those things was being humble, right? Being able to know that although you have this high level of expertise as a healthcare provider, that in the context of health content writing, you might be a little bit more new to that space. And so demonstrating that humility and that willingness and ability to unlearn some of the communication practices we have learned as healthcare providers, to relearn new and better communication practices, especially when it comes to being able to communicate health information to the general public in a written way, which is new for a lot of us, right? We might be used to verbally communicating with patients, and might not be so great at translating that scientific information into something that they can understand, but being willing to unlearn and to relearn better communication practices, and then being willing to grow. Another piece of that, Another suggestion that they made was they want to see that a freelance health content writer has the ability to really drill down into the language and make sure that not only are we using simplified words. I think that sometimes when you think about what it means to be a health content writer and to write general health information for the general public, plain language is one of those ideas that first comes to mind. And plain language is really important. Like that is a foundational step and tool, but it's not the only thing that matters. And so not just being able to use simplified language, but asking yourself, what is the clearest way that I can communicate this idea to someone who has no healthcare background? Or being able to decide what information is necessary and what information is not. If you're trying to explain how a medication works to a patient, they might not need to know the full mechanism of action. They don't need to know the name of every enzyme. They don't need to know, all of the details about which cells are involved. What is the most meaningful yet simple message that you can convey in order to get your point across and make sure that the reader of the health content is walking away with what they need to understand. So those kind of are a few examples that the publishers, some of the editors over at GoodRx gave when it comes to evaluating health content writer candidates and deciding who might be a best fit. Again, feel free to drop any characteristics that you think hiring professionals want to see when they're looking for health content writers. So, having this understanding or this kind of preview of what a lot of publishers are looking for, that humility, that willingness to learn, unlearn, relearn, and grow, being able to drill down into language, how do you think you demonstrate those characteristics to those editors, those publishers, those hiring managers? What is a way that you can demonstrate those characteristics? Humility and willingness to unlearn, relearn, grow, those are a little bit more abstract, right? So there could be plenty of examples that you could use to demonstrate that you have those characteristics. It would be great if you could also demonstrate that you have that willingness to unlearn, relearn, and grow in the context of writing, right? So thinking of ways that you can use writing specific examples to support you there. But in terms of being able to drill down in language and being able to communicate in a written fashion in a way that is meaningful for a person who's reading what you're writing, a great way and one of the best ways and one of the most compelling ways and one of the required ways of demonstrating that is through experience and proof, i.e., a portfolio. So being able to go to those publishers or hiring managers with samples of your work to say, this is how I write. This is how I drill down into that language. This is how I communicate complex concepts to people who don't necessarily have a healthcare background or to this specific type of audience. This is how I tailor my language to one audience who has a certain set of characteristics versus another audience that has a different set of characteristics. And these are the samples that show that breadth of experience. So that's the first thing, right? You know that you need the experience and the proof, and the way that you get that or the way that you demonstrate that is through your samples. That's the part that I said that we've probably talked about already. But this second part is something that we don't talk about as much and is really important if you have decided that the specific type of medical writing you want to pivot into as a healthcare professional is health content writing. And again, health content writing is different than other types of medical writing. They all share some similarities, but they also have their distinctions. And so this is where we are leaning into one of those distinctions. Remember that health content writing is not just about putting words on paper for the general public. Health content writing is a small slice of a broader concept known as health content marketing. Health content writing is a type of marketing. A company does not hire health content writers just because they want to educate the public. That might be why we as healthcare professionals want to become healthcare writers. That might be our main motivation or our main draw, but that is not the health company's main draw. Health content writing for them is a piece of health content marketing. And marketing is a necessary tool for the business for them to be able to get in front of their ideal audience and then sell them in whatever way that might be. That might be getting people to sign up for appointments. That might be getting people to come into their pharmacy and buy something or get a vaccine or something. So this is all a part of marketing. And because of that, if you're going to be a health content writer, and be an effective one and be a compelling one, then you have to understand that marketing part. You have to understand how health content writing fits into the larger scope of health content marketing. You have to understand what health content marketing is. You have to understand what all of the other pieces in the marketing process are, even if you're not the person who's going to be managing and executing all of those pieces. You still have to understand it. And so, one of the reasons why, if you are applying for health content writing jobs and you are not getting them, one of the reasons could be that you don't have the experience, you don't have a portfolio of samples. But another reason could be that you don't have the full understanding of what health content marketing is, why it matters to a company's bottom line, how it impacts their bottom line, what types of strategies and tactics need to be implemented in order to create a blog post that is not just educational, but that has marketing elements within it and can help a company achieve their business goals that they have set. If you only have the healthcare expertise part, which is great, that's good. It's good that you have that healthcare background. That's one of the things that sets us apart as health professionals who are interested in health content writing. That's an advantage, but it's not the whole package. You have to have the experience and you have to have the information, the knowledge about what health content writing is, what health content marketing is, how it all works together. It takes time to build up both of these things. It takes time to build up the experience, and it takes a little bit of time to build up that foundational knowledge of health content marketing. So if health content writing is something that you know that you want to do, then these are the elements of learning that you need to prioritize. You're going to want to start sooner than later learning about what health content marketing is, learning about how you can build your portfolio to support that knowledge and that understanding. And then those things together, as you learn and improve and you build, you start to improve your candidacy for these types of roles. And a common misconception is that you have to go for a full-time role in order to be a health content writer. And that's not the case, right? One of the great things about health content writing and one of the things that sets it apart from other types of medical and health writing is that there are countless freelance opportunities. So as you are building and you're learning and you're growing, you can also be working as a freelancer on a contract basis to build up your skills. It's not that you have to wait until everything is perfect, every box is checked before you can go out and try to get this full-time health content writing job. One of the reasons that I've been qualified for some of the full-time roles that I've had is because I spent so many years freelancing and working with different clients and building up my experience, even alongside whatever full-time job I had back then. And so it's a way to increase your candidacy and increase your proficiency and your competencies while you're still, holding down your regular 9 to 5 job, but without having to wait all this time before you can go for a full-time role. Because the threshold for entry on a full-time role is a lot higher than the threshold for entry for freelancing. You can more easily ramp up to the point where you're qualified to be a sound freelancer for a company versus getting to the point where you can be a sound full-time health content writer. So hopefully this is some food for thought as you're considering how you want to pivot into health content writing or how you want to reapproach trying to pivot into health content writing. And I hope some of these points that we talked about today can be supportive for you, namely remembering that you need that experience through samples and through a portfolio, and also that is not the entire package, that you need the experience and you need the knowledge, the information about what health content writing is, how it fits into the larger scope of health content marketing, and how all of those pieces work together to impact a company's bottom line. Because again, health content writing is a type of marketing, is a subset of marketing. So you have to understand that piece as well. Um, if you are on the wait list for health professionals to health writers and you did not check your email this week, I would recommend checking your email. Applications for the next cohort of health professionals to health writers did open to the wait list this week, and we already have a couple of students, a couple of calls in the books. So if you were interested in joining the next cohort of the accelerator, which is going to start in September, and you are already on the wait list, then you want to make sure that you check your email and you send in your application as soon as possible. If you are not on the wait list, enrollment will be available for people who are not on the wait list shortly, probably within the next week or so. So if you would be interested in applying, but you're not on the wait list, you can feel free to comment right below, and we'll make sure that you get signed up. But again, even if you get on the wait list like today, you will have to wait a couple days to be eligible to apply and enroll. So I will talk to you all later, and let me know if you have any questions about what we discussed today.